Okay, ZBA, we are live, we are recording, phone lines are open, go for it.
Thank you, Matt, and welcome everyone to the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for April 30th, 2024. We have two public hearings this evening, but first we have a modification and we have a request to move that up on the agenda. We have counsel here, so we'll honor that request. And also an announcement. Tonight's agenda will pretty much temporarily clean up on what's on our schedule. So next Tuesday night's meeting will not be held. So with that, I'll move to the modification. I'll read that, and then we will have Tyler, if you can run through, and if council wants to address, you can. So applicant is Henry L. Drucker at 298 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-189-6-11.5, and this is a modification to the location of the tennis court from the 2022 determination. Tyler?
Okay, so this is the original approval that the board had, which they approved a front yard variance of, I can't remember the number off the top of my head. What was the number?
I think it's 80.5 or 85.
80.6 is what the distance is from the front.
80.5.
Yeah, it's from the front yards of the residence of the front street. I'm sorry, where 120 is required. So this is what the board approved at the time. It doesn't. I don't think it makes much sense because it's proposed partially over existing structures. So the applicant is requesting to simply shift that tennis court south on the property. Still meets setbacks to the southern yard lot line, which is 50 feet, and they meet that, and maintains that 80.6 feet from the front yard. So the variance hasn't changed at all. They're just changing the survey and shifting the location slightly on the property.
And this is, yeah, I get, this is, if it doesn't change the variance, I'm fine with this modification.
It's mostly just changing this one survey for another.
Yeah.
Nothing else is changing.
Any board
I am
members?
too, since nothing's increased,
Yeah.
nothing's really,
Yeah.
they're just getting shifted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Okay with that?
Yeah, wasn't part of the application,
Therefore-
but it makes sense. So,
Yeah, we just for we had the original application had a greater variance on the tennis court. They agreed to move it and reduce the variance request, but this isn't changing it. So
yes.
so therefore, I make a motion and the applicant of Henry L. Drucker at 298 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-189-6-11.5 to approve the modification.
I second. I concur.
I concur.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, our first hearing this evening, I am going to recuse myself. I'm going to give this over to the vice chair to read into the record.
Thank you.
Okay.
This scheduled public hearing is 239 Gerard LLC, 239 Gerard Drive in Springs. Suffolk County tax map number is 300-42-2-12. Project description is to construct an approximately 257 square foot elevated deck attached to the existing residence with carport below, and to install new windows and doors on the existing residence on a parcel of land containing wetlands, beaches, and beach vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and one variance is required for this application. One variance of 11.4 feet is required from 255-440 of the Town Code to construct a proposed decking with lower level carport 63.6 feet from the edge of beach where a 75-foot setback is required and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is A2 residence, AE flood zone elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2. This is my area. Oh, do we have an affidavit of service posting?
Yes, we do.
Thank you. This is my area, so I will do my field inspection. The first photo indicates that the property was properly posted. Next, please, Tyler. This is the long driveway I'm approaching that you walk down. It's a dirt stone driveway. Most properties on this side of Girard Drive are situated in this way. Next, please. I'm approaching the one-story frame dwelling. And this front portion of the structure that you're actually looking at, I do have better photos than this, is where they are going to be putting the carport with the deck above. Next, please. This indicates the existing concrete shed that also appears on the property. Next, please. All right, all right, this is just me on the south side of the property. This is just looking down toward Girard Drive. It's just giving you an idea of the length of the driveway. Next, please. This is, again, a good shot of, so you can see the window in the middle, I think, is one of the windows that's going to be removed. But this is the area where they're proposing to put the carport with the deck above. Next, please. Okay, this is the, I'm on the north side of the property now. This deck, staircase, I'm sorry, this staircase leads up to an existing deck. And to the left, you can see a wooden walkway that walks out to, that you can walk out to Gardner's Bay. Next, please. And this is the wooden walkway that is on the north side of the property. And again, it gives you access to Gardner's Bay. Next, please. This is the deck that both sides of the house has a staircase that goes up and it leads to this deck area. Next, please. This is, I'm actually standing on the deck now, looking out toward Gardner's Bay, and it's just another example of the walkway extending out to the end of, right before you go onto the beach. Next, please. This is on the another staircase that leads to the deck I already illustrated, and it's on the south side of the property. Next, please. I think that might be, yes, I thought so. All right. Is there anyone here to speak to this application?
Yes, good evening, Vice Chair Savarese, members of the board.
Do you?
We're missing somebody.
I know Ed Johan is not here tonight.
Oh. Okay.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. Britton Bistrian, I'm here representing 239 Girard LLC at appropriately 239 Girard Drive in Springs. The parcel, as shown in the field report, is on the east side of Girard Drive, just after the second causeway, and fronting on Gardner's Bay. This parcel is part of a 1935 subdivision of Cape Gardner. It's improved with an approximate 881 square foot, one-story residence, and one of my favorite accessory structures in East Hampton town, which is a shucking shed. That's what that concrete, that was for shucking
shucking
scallops.
shed?
Is that what they use that for?
Shucking shed.
Wow.
It's just like, I feel like we should define that as an accessory structure. I just love it. And it's exactly intact, blue and all. I'm sure you saw that in the field report. Other than that, there are no other outbuildings. All the additions were constructed prior to the adoption of zoning in 1957. This application was recently in front of the board, not recently, but within the last, oh gosh, it was probably 5 years at this point, to raise the existing house to FEMA compliance. So it looks like new construction, but what was really was just re-sided and lifted up and elevated. They had had some flooding issues. And part of that, I'll note, is if you look at the photographs, you'll see that there are these concrete piers underneath the house, which prevents any sort of covered storage of vehicles. So that's part of the drive to have this. And by carport, it's really just 4 posts that are wide enough apart that you can drive a car underneath the deck in the location where there's an existing parking spot. In that FEMA project, part of the mitigation was to upgrade the septic system to IA. So it is IA. That received a certificate of occupancy, the house and the IA in 2020, and everything on the property is covered under that CO from 4 years ago. This project is to seek an NRSP and one variance to construct a one-story deck addition. And because, as I noted, the house is elevated, we're going to use the below area as a carport. It also includes the removal of one window on that west facade, and we're going to put a door there appropriately so we can access the deck. That's the only change to the facade, is popping out that window and putting a door. The deck is proposed on the landward side in the house in the most conforming location possible. There's nowhere further that's attached to the house that we could propose it. The variance is from the dune crest on the opposite side of the house. The deck is 63.6 feet, where 75 feet is required. As you can see, if you visited the site, there's very little outdoor living area. That's the drive to have this area. The existing deck is 192 square feet. It's really not even enough to have a table and dining chairs. As you saw, it just has one lounge chair. And the request is to build a 223 square foot deck. I know the notice said 257, but it's 223, so it's luckily it's less than that. As I noted, it's proposed over an existing disturbed area of gravel, which was used for 2 of our parking spots. And although the lot is very non-conforming to width, as you can see, it's only 50 feet wide, which is half of what zoning requires. The deck does meet both side yard setbacks and pyramid to those property lines. By a letter submitted to the file today, I'm not certain, I literally just got it. The DEC determined that the scope of work, while it was within their jurisdiction, that it didn't rise to the level of requiring a permit. So they effectively gave, it's not really an NJ, it's a no permit required. That was submitted to your file today. This proposal has significant benefit to the applicant in having modest outdoor living space. It's adjacent to, this is a 1-bedroom house. It's adjacent to their 1-bedroom. That's their desire. I don't think it's going to have a grave impact to the neighborhood or the environment. It's already over cleared, improved gravel area. And obviously the benefit is, as you can see when you visit the site, the entire site is vegetated. So to have some outdoor living on a house that's less than 900 square feet seemed reasonable. So other than that, I can answer any questions.
I just have one, just for the record. The survey is indicating that the size of the carport is
223?
223.
Yes.
And the notice is saying 257, so.
Correct. The survey's correct.
Okay.
And the architectural plans are corresponding with that. I don't know where 257 came from, but it's 22, maybe it was a,
Because I looked
But
at
I'm
the other
requesting
architectural
223.
renderings, and that 233 number appears to, I just wanted to double check that that was exactly the right number. Are we ready to hear from the planning department? Yes. Yes. Thank you, Britton.
Tyler Borsak for the planning department.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do. So the subject property is situated on the east side of Girard Drive in Springs. Just to discuss the notice since it was brought up, I utilized the numbers that were on the building plans to the outside extents of it, and maybe the survey utilizes like inside the railing numbers or something like that. It's a negligible difference. I don't think it makes a difference with me. It's a very small structure. I don't think it matters one way or the other. But that being said, the project is a very small change to the existing conditions on the property. As was noted there, it was in front of the ZBA somewhat recently. It was back in 2015 that project was in order to raise the house to meet FEMA requirements. And it also removed some of the structures that were seaward of the CHA line. So there was some improvements there, and also included the upgrade of the sanitary system, which was requested by the board as part of that application. The proposed decking is located on the landward side of the residence. It's set back 134.6 feet from the wetlands to the west, and 63.6 feet from the edge of beach to the east, which there's really not many other locations to place the structure. It's in the most conforming location attached to the residence itself. The planning department doesn't have any significant concerns with the proposed decking. It's fairly minor change to the parcel, and it appears to be in keeping with the board's past practices on both this property and the neighborhood in general, and likely would have been approved if it had been included in that previous application. However, the board should examine any change to such a non-conforming property closely to determine if it meets the NRSP and variance standards. But other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have questions?
I just have one question, not super material, but when the septic was put in, it still shows that the whole area over it is cleared. I mean, like there was no grass, beach grass or anything put on top of it. Just curious why.
Yeah, they did. They did do some grasses in that area. I think it's just whether you consider it cleared or not. It's not.
Okay,
It's not substantial vegetation because it's that super shallow drain system. So you can't really put too much on there. I don't.
I mean, my impression is
concern
that whole
considering-
area wasn't fully cleared, but I just wanted to reconcile with
Right.
with the
Yeah.
survey.
Yeah. I think
showing.
it just comes down to them probably not being comfortable considering it vegetated, so they left it as part of the cleared.
Thank you.
There is some vegetation there. It's just not significant.
Any more questions?
No.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Tyler. Is there anyone else who wants to speak on behalf of this application? Matt, do we have any callers?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Britton, would you like to make a final statement? So we're ready to close this public hearing?
Yeah, I am.
In the matter of the application of 239 Gerard LLC, 239 Gerard Drive in Springs, Suffolk County Tax Map Number 300-42-2-12, I make a motion that we close the public hearing and record.
Second.
I concur.
Fast, you got it here.
Right.
Okay, thank you. Our next public hearing is Denson Michael at 414 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk. The Suffolk tax map number is 300-22-1-3.1. The size and location is 120,000 square feet at 414 Old Montauk Highway in Montauk. The description is to extensively renovate, construct 940 square feet of first and second story additions, 240 square foot of terrace, 724 square foot of swimming pool and pool terrace, and reconfigure the existing driveway on a parcel of land containing freshwater wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420. Variances for 255-430, minimum wetland setbacks of the town code and any other relief necessary. Variances of 74.3 feet, 65.3 feet, and 67.4 feet are required to allow the closest of the additions, the terrace and the swimming pool and terrace, 25.7 feet, 34.7 feet, and 32.6 feet from wetlands respectively, where a 100-foot setback is required. The application also requires a temporary land clearing within 50 foot of wetlands. The zoning district is A10 residence, is Zone X flood zone, and a secret class is type 2. Council, do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
I have reviewed the affidavits. Everything appears to be in order and the board has jurisdiction over this application. Yes, I reviewed the affidavits and it appears everything is in order and the board has jurisdiction over this application.
Okay,
Okay, this is mine.
okay,
And
go ahead.
there was no posting. I did not see a posting at the site.
Please continue. Please continue.
Okay, are we going to continue?
We are going to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just confirming that there is an affidavit. It's sworn to and it has the date that it was posted as April 17th, which is within the, at least 10 days requirement.
Well, okay, it should be for the
But it's
full
not
10
posted.
days, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I have, just give me 1 minute.
Yeah, go ahead.
You looking for a photo?
Yep.
So what was the first day of posting, Jameson, relative to what you said on the 17th?
April 17th is the day that it was
Would have been the
affirmed.
first day of posting.
This
Attendance.
notes that on April 17th that
That was 10 days, yeah.
Dylan
Yes.
caused the posting of the property.
I believe I had a photo of it, I just can't locate it at the moment.
I guess what we want want to have it posted and leave the record open for a week?
Yeah.
In case the public wants someone going by.
I have a question though, maybe before,
Yeah.
we go, we can't open the hearing till we.
What?
Go ahead.
It was posted. We have an affidavit that it was posted. I don't
Okay,
know.
we'll proceed.
Posted.
Yeah, I'm comfortable proceeding because I'm just checking that there's an affidavit and that the dates are appropriate. If the board is comfortable though, because we don't have a confirmation from a board member that they saw the posting, I would like a photo for the file if the applicant can provide one. That would be helpful. But I don't think that's not really a threshold issue to opening the hearing.
Or as an alternative, if they put a posting up for a week.
Yeah.
I do like people just driving by, to have the opportunity to know something.
I mean, I agree. I think it's part of a public hearing that posting covers the whole period of time, and I think it's the applicant's responsibility to make sure the posting's there, so we can come back at the end, but I would agree of leaving maybe the record.
It's not my decision, it would be, I
Yeah,
guess,
okay, we
the
can talk
board,
about it, yeah.
if there's a majority of the board that,
Um,
but we're fine to open the hearing based on,
okay. All right, you want to go?
Yeah, well, this is a flagged drive that goes off Old Montauk Highway, the old Montauk Highway.
Yeah.
So this is the beginning of the applicant's driveway. That's a shot going up the driveway. Gonna go up there. Next, I just took a shot of some of the shrubbery, and this, you could see by the survey, this property is like completely surrounded by wetlands quite extensively. Is that a different photo, Tyler?
I believe so.
That's the next one?
That's the main driveway.
This is the driveway off of the access.
Yeah, no, I know. I thought we got.
You can't address the board, sir. Thank you.
Okay, next. Okay, they may be a little bit out of order. So this is the area on the survey that's indicated. This is the current parking area that's indicated. There's going to be some additional clearing, but this is going to be reconfigured, and this area will be eliminated, and the new parking area is part of the project. Next. Basically, okay, this is in the area where the proposed driveway is going to be going up toward the house, and then it's going to go to the right from this photo. But we're going to take a walk around the house, basically. So next. So this, I'm walking up that the stone walk that you saw, and this is an area directly in front. You can see toward the right rear of that is where there's a indication for an existing garden. It's hard to see here. You'll see more of that later. But this is the area where there's going to be some revegetation done and a proposed septic system and a pool and terrace. But we'll see more of that later. Next. So now while continuing walking up there, just some more, a lot of grass. Next. And here, getting toward the front of the house, I've turned toward the right, which would be in the sort of easterly direction. And this is where they're going to, you could see the proposed addition. You'll see it better later. See behind that shrub, this part of the house that extends out a little further, so it's supposed to be squared off there. Next. So now this is a shot from the front of the house directly. And the area in front of the house is going to be part of the parking area, the new parking area that's proposed. And you can see on the left is where they're going to square off that section. And then on the right, well, we'll get to that. There's going to be another proposed terrace there. Next. Okay, some of this got changed, but anyway, this is a shot. There's a shed there. You can see part of that shed that's proposed to be removed. You can see the electrical box. It's on the survey. You can see that shed is like just about around where the wetlands start at that direction. Next. And it's another shot toward the eastern side and just more of the yard and toward the direction of the wetlands. Part of it was they had some very nice hydrobush blueberry and some nice shrubbery around there. Next. That's a close-up of one of them. Next. And this is a shot from the other side of the house. You can see where it juts out on the left on the survey, and there's a proposed terrace to be put in there on the section toward the left side of that house, of the house. Next. This is just it's a removable, obviously, trampoline that they have in the corner, again, toward the northeastern side, probably eastern side of the property. And we're going to go up from the back of the house next. You can see, this is a shot across the back of the house from that location in the direction of where the more is proposed. On this section, there's nothing that's actually proposed on this side. So I'm going to walk up there toward the north. There is some drain. Water out drowns from the house draining. Next. Now I'm standing, actually what I did was go over and I'm standing near the existing garden and I'm facing back toward the house. And from there you could see again where they're proposing to square off that side of the house. And then it's hard to see from here, but there's a door in the back with a step, wooden step down, and that's where they're proposed to also extend out the house a bit. And then you see the proposed terrace with the pool goes in that area, and we'll see more of that. Next. So that's another shot from the garden area. I thought I had a shot of the garden, but anyway. And this is the expanse, again, coming off the house to be the proposed terrace and the pool. And then beyond that, in the direction of the wetlands on the north, is the proposed sanitary system. And next. Now, this is a shot from near the back door of the house, I believe, looking back in that same direction. Next. Or actually, this is the one from the back door of the house, directly shooting back toward where the terrace is proposed with the pool and the septic system beyond that, and then wetlands. Next. Oh, okay, here's the shot of the garden. Thought that was earlier in the sequence, but that's the shot of the existing garden, which they're looking to keep. Next. And it's the final shot, I believe. And this is just going back toward the parking area, as you can see it in the distance. And that's it.
Thank you. That's all.
No.
David Kirst from Matthews Kirst Cooley and Choron PLLC, 241 Pantago Road, East Hampton, New York. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Denson, the owner of the property.
I have a point of clarification, if I could. The septic system is not part of the notice. So just but it's part of the
application. It's on the survey, yes.
Because that should be requiring a variance as well, no?
I believe the upgrades and Tyler?
Just be an NRSP.
It's just an NRSP. The upgrades of the septic systems, the IA is not a variance.
Okay. But, all right. Okay, so all right, we'll proceed. Go ahead. Thank you.
I did forward photos of the posted sign.
Okay.
I don't know where you were. If you were looking at the driveway is actually 60 feet east of where our property line starts. So if you're standing on Old Montauk Highway, and if you're standing in front of the driveway, there's 60 feet before our property line starts, and then the sign was over in front of that. I did submit a photo, so.
Okay, I did not go east of that driveway, so maybe it was there.
Okay, yeah, it's quite a bit.
Okay.
Did you receive that?
Yes, I received them. I'm forwarding also to Tyler and to Samantha for the file now. I can forward them to the board too, but I'm forwarding it to Tyler in case he needs to pull them up on the smartboard.
So I'm sorry, just to clarify, you're saying that you can't see it from the road?
No, you can see it from the road. You can't see it if you're at the driveway.
Yeah.
It's on the property line as it should be.
Oh.
40 feet, it's east of the driveway
Yeah.
by probably
We
100
have,
feet
we
or
have
so.
evidence that it was posted. I think we're fine. Thank
All
you.
right.
So I'm here tonight with Mr. Michael Denson, the owner of the property. The property's been in Mr. Denson's family since 1996, when his father purchased the property. He currently lives there with his wife and 2 young daughters. The house currently is 1 bedroom with a loft. So for a family of 4, it's a little inconvenient, to say the least. And part of that floor area is a double height living room. So there's even less of that is actually usable as it sits right now. So the purpose of this application for the small addition to the residence as well as a swimming pool. The existing residence has not been modified since the CO back from 1996. The results of this proposal are actually a 98 square foot decrease in lot coverage because we're removing the 2 sheds, and a 415 square foot decrease in clearing, which is largely due to the reconfiguration and consolidation of the driveway into areas that are cleared. The revegetation of that, as you can see on the survey, is quite a ways from where the actual house is. So we bring the driveway up to where part of the septic system has to go in order to minimize the footprint of the development here and the reconfiguration.
What was that number again? The exact number, 400 what?
415. So we're proposing the area, as was just mentioned in the prior application, the area above the drainage field for the septic will be revegetated, but you can't plant anything that they consider woody. So it would be a mix of grasses, native grasses. And then the area of the driveway, existing driveway, would be reconfigured with, plantings to be approved by the planning department. We're only increasing the first floor by 30 square feet. As you can see, if you saw the plans, do we have the plans?
Yes.
There's a shift along the west side of the house to the north side of the house. So we really tried to keep this as tight as possible to the existing footprint while providing the maximum benefit to our client and his family. So with that, it's a 940 square foot total addition, 30 square feet at the first floor and 910 at the second floor. So most of that is within the existing footprint. It's all within the existing area that's been cleared and disturbed historically on this property. And can we go back to the survey? Thank you, Tom. Now, I understand the pool is a difficult. It is very small. It's 144 square feet. It's, I believe, approximately 5 foot deep, according to the profile, to keep the separation of groundwater. My client would really love this pool, as would his family. We're willing to take away the terrace, possibly move it closer to the residence. If it helps gets the pool, he'd be willing to remove the existing raised garden, revegetate that as well, which would result in even a further decrease in clearing and would actually wind up with a decrease in total lot coverage. So we'd be decreasing total lot coverage, and clearing all to the benefit of the neighborhood, the environment.
But isn't it the pool that's driving the location of the septic system closest to the wetlands?
It's all within the
One
same,
of the things we have to look at is if there are alternative locations, and the septic being, you're almost 20 feet, less than, with the expansion pool, less than 20 feet from the wetlands. That could be at a better location if the pool weren't there, because you need that 20-foot separation. That's driving it.
I believe the drainage fields for the septic are where they are more so because of the driveway. You're gonna need a separation from the tank to the drainage fields as well. The tank is being proposed under the driveway. So I believe there is some, I do understand your point. I'm just saying, I'm not an engineer and I did not design the septic system. But I believe with the separations for that, that's where we wind up with those drainage fields that are not under the driveway or an area that's going to be driven on.
Again, just for argument's sake, though, that if that pool wasn't there, I think that even the tank and stuff could have been located closer. That whole septic field could have probably been located closer or further away from the wetlands.
Okay, I'd have to confirm that with our engineer if that's something that the board would like to see.
Can I just add on to that? I would love to know if it was considered, and I'm not here to redesign the project for you, but to put the pool, because it's not that, it's a 144 square foot pool, if it could have been perhaps on the south side of the house or where you're putting proposed I'm just curious to see if there was some
The
consideration.
wetlands, there's the most distance between the house and the wetlands on the north side.
Yeah.
The south side is, I believe, it's very tight.
Just looking at that area tucked in.
Yeah,
The house is 34 on that side. Yeah, it's
right,
around.
it's less than 30 on the south side. So there's less room there for a pool. So the area that the pool was proposed maximizes the setbacks from the wetlands to that pool.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Questions?
No, I think I'm good.
The one I had you addressed.
Thank you.
No, I don't know, just, well, let's hear from Tom.
Tyler?
Good evening, Tyler Borsak for the Planning Department. I'm covering this hearing tonight for Brian, who wrote the assessment.
Tyler, do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Oh, you're sworn in already.
Yeah, it's okay. So the application is in front of the ZBA to extensively renovate and construct 940 square foot of first and second story additions, 240 square foot of terrace, 724 square foot of swimming pool and pool terrace, and to reconfigure the existing driveway. The existing residence consists of an 1,800 square foot first floor and 120 square foot second floor. The application includes the demolition of 1,025 square feet of the first floor, along with 285 square feet of existing decking. The proposed additions consist of an increase of 30 square feet and 910 square feet of the first and second floors respectively, comprising a 49% increase in the non-conforming floor area. This lot is obviously constrained by the 50% expansion cap of the town code, given how non-conforming it is and how encumbered with wetlands the property is. Despite the magnitude of the dimensional variances, the board may find that the additions to be a reasonable variance candidate since the residence has not been altered since its original construction, and the additions are relatively consolidated. Along with the proposed additions to the residence, the applicants have included a sanitary system upgrade along the north side of the proposed driveway. Given the extensive wetlands on the property, the best setback the applicant is able to provide for the sanitary system is approximately 20 feet, but the new system should be a significant upgrade over the existing conditions. However, the planning department feels that the swimming pool is a poor candidate for relief and should be denied. The dimensional variance is substantial, and the property is located within an area of high environmental sensitivity. Swimming pools are a residential appurtenance that, while permitted in all residential zones, are not necessary for residential use, and not every property is an appropriate candidate for a reduction in the town's 100-foot minimum wetland setback. The wetlands on the property are extensive, comprising 62% of the property's lot area, and essentially surround the improvements, most of which are located 30 feet or less from wetlands. The extent of the wetlands and the soils on the property are indicative of poor drainage throughout the parcel. The unnecessary introduction of a source of water deep within wetland setbacks is inconsistent with the NRSP standards and fails to satisfy the variance standards of the town code. And as was discussed, the board may want the applicant to address the sanitary system location and how the proposed pool impacted the sanitary design and its setbacks to wetlands. The sanitary plans do show the 20-foot arc around the proposed swimming pool, and this is essentially right up against that. So it certainly seems to be driving it further north. And while really no location is going to have great setbacks, they certainly could increase them if the pool wasn't included in the project, possibly even doubling the setbacks from the proposed 20 to maybe 40, depending on the layout of the system. The revegetation was mentioned, the area where the existing driveway is proposed to be revegetated. The assessment had noted including indigenous moorland shrubs in that area, which it seems the applicants are amenable to. Other than that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Any thought about another location for the pool that's possible on this property?
I mean, well, that's ultimately the most conforming location available at this point for a swimming pool, if the board felt that one was appropriate. We just feel that the property is too encumbered. There's too many, there's significant wetlands surrounding the entire parcel. There's not really a great location for a swimming pool. The property's probably best not to have one. Unless it was completely redeveloped and you were able to somehow get better setbacks. But even then, it would be a heavy lift, I think.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good. No, I'm good.
Thank you, Tyler. Anybody in the public like to address this application? Matt, is everybody on the line?
You have 0 callers. Thank you.
Hey, welcome. Come up.
David Hurst again. So just a point of correction, my client pointed out, the house was actually built in the late 70s, and the original CO was from 83, but from what I recall, it was built quite a few years before they actually got the certificate of occupancy issued for it. So it hasn't been improved upon since that time. The septic system, from what I understand, there was for the percolation tests for the drainage field, and the best location that came up was where that field is currently being proposed. Like I said, if the board would like to leave it open, I can speak further to the engineer, maybe submit something that would be, we'd be open to that. But from the get-go, you guys have been doing this for quite a long time. I, not so much, but long enough. The pool's a heavy lift. I understand that. Everything else on this property is designed to get better so that so that we can have that pool. Reducing the clearing, the septic, reducing, as I said, we'll get rid of the terrace, and then we'd be reducing total lot coverage and building coverage. And there's not much more that we can do or can be done to make this a net benefit. And we think with maybe a few modifications to remove the terrace or maybe move the pool a little closer to the house, which we'd be open to, we feel that there really wouldn't, we've done everything we can. We feel that it is enough, but obviously that's up to you guys. So I leave it in your capable hands.
If we were to leave it open for you, how much time would you need?
I know my engineer is away. at the moment. So I'd say probably just 2 weeks, though.
We're okay with 2 weeks, leaving the record open?
Yeah, I would like to just
okay.
check one more time about the location of the sanitary and perhaps an alternate. I understand you're trying to maximize the setback of the pool and terrace, but would just love to see another think about the configuration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just have to swear you in, Mr. Dennison. You announce your names and
Michael
address.
Denson.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay.
I just wanted to mention that I was there with the septic designer, and we dug holes all over the property. As you know, it's a poor drainage property, and he thought that we were going to have to go down 200 feet to dig an old
Yeah.
right.
Cutting rings.
Right. But we found an area which had amazing percolation right over there. And that's the only reason why that septic, that low nitrogen septic was proposed in that area. It had nothing to do with the pool at all. I've looked at this survey ad nauseum, trying to figure out what we could do to move it somewhere, if we could make the pool even smaller, push it. But the reason that it's there is because it's the furthest away from the wetlands that we could get it. And as David said, I'm willing to revegetate, as much as we can to, back with native blueberry. I'm a gardener. No people have giant gardens like that if they're not into plants. I'm super into plants. And, I would have no problem revegetating as much as possible, improving it back to its natural state as best we can to take our almost 3 acres and reduce it to whatever it takes to get this pool.
Thank you.
So
we'll leave the record open for 2 weeks, and maybe you can come back to us
Okay.
on something.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Motion?
The application of Michael Denson at 414 Old Montauk Highway, tax map 300-022-01-3.1. Make motion to close the public hearing, leave the written record open for 2 weeks until May 14th, for additional submissions.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Oh, did we second it? Did everybody vote on that motion?
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you need a second?
Do we have a second?
I'm a second.
I don't know.
Okay.
You said
Sorry.
Concur?
said nothing.
I'm a concur. If I'm not a second, I'm a concur.
You all said it with your eyes.
Thank you, Janice.
Thank God someone's paying attention, right?
Samantha, she just gave me the nod.
All right, we have some administrative applications this evening. First one is 180 SB LLC at 180 Springy Banks Road in East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-74-5-30.5, and that's to construct a 112 square foot deck extension, 26.6 feet from the side yard lot line where 35 feet is required, which reduces their required setback by 24%. 72 square foot of the deck is within the setback. And I think, Tyler, this is a hearing with,
Variance without a hearing.
a variance without a hearing, right?
Yeah.
So you want to,
Yeah, so this is a variance without a hearing. I'll show you the backed out zoom and then zoom in on it. Super long driveway off of Springy Banks. This is over by like the Boys Harbor area. This is an application. They had an NRSP a number of years ago. There was an old house closer to wetlands that was demolished, and that required a natural resource special permit. The new house didn't require a natural resource special permit, and this doesn't either. What they are in for is a variance without a hearing to expand this deck here. And I'll pull up the drawings because it does help a little bit just to see it. on this as well. It's a little bit clearer. So they're just essentially rounding off this corner. That's going to be within the side yard setback. The required setback is 35 feet. It's 26.6 feet, which is 24%. The variance without a hearing regulations allow us to go up to 25% without needing a hearing. So it just meets those requirements. Additionally, they own the property next door, which is this property here, which essentially just contains a swimming pool and some other minor accessory structures. So there's really no significant impacted neighbor. And it still meets a fairly good setback. It's 26.6 feet from that side yard lot line. And it's in common ownership. So those are the relevant pieces of information regarding what they're requesting. It's 128 feet from the bulkhead, not the bulkhead, the bluff crest here. Even further from tidal wetlands, obviously. So it's out of jurisdiction from natural resources.
Tyler, can you just go back to the prior slide that showed the squaring off for a second?
Sure.
That's that purple corner there?
Right.
Okay.
That would be what would be non-conforming to setbacks.
So, but the rest of the deck is conforming? Or
Yes, that green line that's coming across.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see the green line
That's the
from here.
property setback line, essentially.
So it's,
Oh, I couldn't see it from here.
So they built it right up close to it originally, and then I'm imagining they probably we'd really like to walk around this, and that's why they're back in.
And then can I just confirm what you said? The property they own next door has no residence on it, but only,
Correct.
I thought that wasn't permitted.
If you own two properties, and if two properties next to each other are in common ownership, you can have an accessory without a principal as long as there's room for a principal.
I thought you had to merge the lots to do
No,
that,
you
but
can,
that's
yeah, you can, it's, we call it the Seinfeld rule in town, because that's how it became a thing. Where there was a baseball or a softball court on a property that didn't have a principal structure. So that's how it came about. So they aren't forced to merge. They're both conforming properties to lot size. So they can do it just because they're in common ownership. If they're ever not in common ownership, then a principal structure has to be constructed or the pool has to be demolished.
Okay, I'm okay with this as be a variance without a hearing. Board members, are we okay with this?
I'm okay with it as well.
Yeah.
Again, variance without a hearing goes for, the notice is twice the,
I think it's still a 10-day. It's still, I think variance without a hearing is still a 10-day. I'm not 100% certain, but I'm fairly certain it's still a 10-day. Obviously the impacted neighbor will be them. And then any other adjoining neighbors, which is probably just the neighbor to the north.
An administrative, though, is a 20-day notice. right?
Admin is 20, yes. I think variance without a hearing is 10.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
interesting. If they're-
So therefore, I make a motion of 180 SB LLC at 180 Springy Banks Road at East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-74-5-30.5 to allow this application to proceed as a variance without a hearing.
Second.
Concur.
Thank you.
And that'll be back in front of the board once that notice period is up.
Next, we have 60 South Forest Street and LLC at 60 South Forest, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-28-8-30.2.1. This is to demolish the existing residence and construct a 3,270 square foot two-story residence with a 556 square foot attached garage, 490 square foot of decking and porches, 400 square feet of terrace, 600 square feet of detached garage, 448 square foot of swimming pool, 200 square foot of pool patio, 196 square foot pool house, and an IA sanitary system on a property containing a freshwater wetland.
Yeah, so that's the lot in the notice. Essentially what they're going to be doing is they're going to be demolishing a very non-conforming residence here. I don't know how easy you can see it there, outlined in red. They're going to be building a larger residence with swimming pool and accessory structures back here, establishing a scenic easement, revegetating a significant amount. And the sanitary system is already has a waiver to be upgraded, so that work will be happening as well simultaneously. There's a letter of support from the neighbor to the north. The closest proposed structure is both the swimming pool and the house, which are proposed 100 feet from wetlands. There's a revegetation easement. The significant, currently there's significant invasive species in this area. There's a lot of Japanese knotweed, so hopefully we can get rid of that and revegetate the area, and it won't come back. That would be great, since currently the Japanese knotweed is pretty extensive and not great for wetlands. And that's about it.
There's like a huge difference between the existing house and what they're proposing.
Yeah, there's a significant difference in gross floor area. The existing GFA is 1872, and they're going up to 3270. Total coverage is only going up fairly minor, from 5305 to 6049, so about 700 square feet.
Sorry, what's the lot size?
Excluding wetlands is 36,000, including is 45,000 and change.
And there are no requested variances with this, right?
Correct, yeah.
What
These were also two
NRSP
lots at one point in time, and they merged. I don't know if they merged them previously or they're doing it as part of this, but the lots are going to be one, or are one lot now, whereas previously it was two lots.
And I'm sorry, it is in RSP jurisdiction? Or-
Yes,
Okay,
yeah,
right, 'cause
absolutely.
The whole thing?
Probably the whole lot, I would say, was within 150,
But they meet all the setbacks.
if not the vast
From the
majority of the
wetlands.
line. I would say, yeah, their 100-foot line is this line here. I don't know if you can see it very well. That's their 100-foot line, so they're right at the edge of it. 150, I would say, is probably right near the road, if not within the right of way.
So your assessment from the planning department's point of view is that it'll go administrative. Why? Because of the environmental benefits?
Yeah, I think they've done everything they can to make it as low impact as they can. They've purposefully not requested any variances when they easily could have. They're doing some fairly significant revegetation. They're establishing a good-sized scenic easement. I don't know what else we could really get out of this property if it came to a public hearing. I don't know if we'd gain anything.
It's the size of the scenic easement.
It's a 50-foot, I think, from the edge of wetlands. Yeah, it's 50 feet from the edge of wetlands, which is minimum clearing setbacks. That's
Sorry,
pretty standard.
they're establishing one, or there already is a scenic easement? Sorry, what?
Yeah, 23,590 square feet of scenic easement, something like that.
23,000?
Significant, yeah.
Wow, that's
That's more than half the property. Yeah.
They're also making a huge increase in just the house itself,
Yeah.
plus a pool house.
Plus a garage, attached garage. So I'm get uncomfortable with a total redevelopment of a property going admin only, notwithstanding I know what you're saying, these benefits, with a very significant expansion in house size, and it still is an increase in coverage.
So you would,
Wonder if they should have a hearing.
What are the calculations now? I'm sorry, I can't see them.
For what? I'm sorry?
For like total lot cover, I mean, just clear, everything. I just can't see it right now, just so.
Building
everybody-
coverage is going from 1,078 to 3,728, obviously, because they have, the accessory garage plus the house. Total coverage is going from 5,305 to 6,049.
But how far are they
What are the
below or
maximums?
above the maximum?
For the max,
I mean, how far below are, they're not maxing out, obviously.
so their proposed building coverage is 3,728. The max is just shy of 6,000, 5,999.
Okay,
So a little more than half.
Sorry, that's the maximum total coverage and maximum
Total building coverage.
Total
Total
building.
coverage maximum is almost 16,000, and they're going to 649.
right. So
6,049.
then, well,
Well, because of the wetlands, right?
Yeah, 16% where 43% would be allowed, and building coverage is 10% where 16% is allowed,
mhm.
plus and change.
I think my feeling is from looking at it, it's gonna be a hard, it's gonna be a hard threshold to deny it based on just size.
I'm concerned about the impact on other lots in that area. There are a lot of wetlands going through that whole neighborhood. Along South Forest.
6. 5%, 16.
The applicant did ask if it's a 2-2, if we could hold off and do it.
Was that,
The applicant asked if it's a split 2-2, if we could hold off and
Well,
see
but
what Ed
it only takes one to,
yeah, we have to be
Deny an admin.
unanimous on that, right?
Do we?
Do we have to be
for an
unanimous on
admin
our
only, you have to be
admin?
unanimous, right?
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
I thought,
Nothing in the code about it being unanimous.
what's the one then where you have to be unanimous?
Reopening a record.
No, I thought it's admin only, okay.
Reopening a hearing.
Reopening hearings.
That I
right,
know,
right,
but,
right, right, okay.
well, I think it should go to public hearing, so.
Barry?
Yeah, I do too.
Okay, we'll hold off on this. Next, we have Emmons at 18 Mako Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-175-2-3.1. And that's to reconstruct in place and kind a 217 square foot wood walkway and to allow approximately 390 square foot of additional walkways and decking to remain on a parcel that is within jurisdiction of a wetland and contains duneland and beach vegetation.
So this is one of those classic beach Hampton lots, very small residence, lots of dune land on it, really high quality dune land on the north side with a significant dune feature as well. So this property, they had gotten a stop work order. They had started reconstructing this wood walkway in place in kind. So they got a stop work order. So they're in to replace that as well as to legalize this decking that's at the rear of the lot. We went back and looked at the CO, which I can pull up just to show. And the area behind the house had sort of already been cleared back when the CO was issued in 2006, 2007. So not a significant impact, mostly in place in kind wood walkway, small decking. The decking is 390 square feet of additional walkway and decking and 217 square feet of walkway to be replaced in place in kind. There's no proposed clearing. Total coverage is well under what's allowable, less than half. Wetlands are all pretty far away and almost out of jurisdiction, not quite. Up from the south side, north side, obviously it's a little bit closer. Mostly they're in jurisdiction for beach vegetation on this one, which they shouldn't really be disturbing for the work that they're proposing to do. So that's it.
This is one of those properties that define the neighborhood, in my opinion. The dune lands behind here
I
is
went to see it again
spectacular.
this morning, yeah.
A little small cottage, I would be in favor of granting this. Well, again, part of it's building case in kind, but what's your feeling?
I just want to,
Some of it's in place in kind.
Some of it is, yeah.
right, so the walkway in the front that leads from the road to the house is I live not that far away from it, so I pass it by a lot. It's on Mako. So the walkway in front is in place in kind. Tyler, the decking, they started building right up against the south side of the house, narrow. Was that already there? Are they replacing something or was that new? And then I want to ask you about the decking in the back.
So there was the wood walkway that led up to a porch and a screen porch on the north side. At some point, this other stuff was done, and then they're just replacing that work that had been done without permits previously.
Sorry. Oh, so the south side,
So this section down here, like the south side, it was there, but it wasn't legal, and they started replacing.
I'm sorry, the south side is
Yeah.
towards the ocean.
This would be the south side down here.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's turned around. The Mako's over there. I'm sorry, it's like really hard time seeing. Right, so that was already there, but was not permitted. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were replacing it when they got a stop.
And then the wood decking, which I went to see in the back, that's entirely 390 or that 390?
I think it includes this wood walkway as well
Yeah.
in that number.
Is there any scenic easement on this property? I mean, the dune land is beautiful.
No, they haven't done any significant work to the property to really warrant that yet. I would imagine if they came in for additions or a redevelopment that then the board would probably get a scenic easement on the north side and keep development to where it is. But at this point, they really haven't done any significant work to justify a scenic easement.
I mean, I don't like the fact that they started the work without permit because they should know what they're living on. But the deck in back, I mean, it was no decking in back to begin with, and it keeps them off the rest of the dune land, right?
Yeah. And it was cleared back there already. I think
was,
this is
okay.
probably, if decking appears, this is probably the best situation to have that just appear. Yeah.
As long as that decking doesn't get any bigger back there.
Okay, I'm fine with this.
I am too.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Motion?
Oh, that's mine, right? In the matter of 18 Mako Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-175-02-3.1, I make a motion to proceed with this application administrative only.
Second.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. All right, we have some post-hearing decisions to make. First is Jeffrey and Melissa Slonim and Sarum at 13 Gallatin Lane in Springs, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-38-1-12. Size and location is 7,500 square foot, 13 Gallatin Lane. R.A. Corwin, North Smith, and J.R. Whidbey, Lot 14, Block B, map number 598, filed May 18th, 1931 in Springs. The description is to construct a second-story alteration outside of the town's pyramid regulations. The relief sought is a variance of 1.4 feet pursuant to 255-11-272D of the East Hampton Town Code to construct a second-story alteration outside of the pyramid line from the northeastern property line. The zoning district is B resident zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. And this is Vice Chair. If you want to take over.
Thank you. This public hearing was held on March 26th, 2024. It was represented by Lori Wiltshire of Land Planning Services. The survey prepared by Gary Benz, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think is the correct one, is dated May 30th, 2023, dated received 6/20/2023. The public hearing and record were closed. There were 0 callers, and the architectural renderings that are in our file, and there are 7 pages, were prepared by David Sherwood, dated April 3rd, 2023, dated received 6/20/2023. The property now has a 1,402 square foot, 2-story residence with a wood deck, gravel driveway, and conventional septic system. The only request really before us tonight is a variance of 1.4 feet to construct a second-story alteration outside of the pyramid line from the northeast property line. They're asking for relief from the pyramid to allow the roof to be 17 inches outside the pyramid line. The other proposed improvements are all outlined on the survey, but they comply with zoning, and those improvements are the outdoor shower, the elimination of the existing stairs to connect the existing second-story decks, and the construction of new stairs to the second-story deck. The property is actually not within jurisdiction of natural resources. The roof is under 30 feet for a gabled roof, so it does not conflict with height restrictions, and there are no additional bedrooms proposed. I feel the application will not have negative impacts on the environment. It is the minimum variance necessary, and it is not substantial. It will not create a detriment to nearby properties. There's actually, I believe, a letter in support of it from, I'm not sure the name, but it's 11 Gallatin Lane, which would be a neighboring property. And this cannot be achieved by some other method. So I do believe the application is in compliance with 255-11-72D and 255-850 of the Town Code, and I am approving the application in its entirety.
Thank you.
I agree with my fellow board member, the vice chair, and I also want to note it's a constrained lot in terms of width. It's only 50 feet wide. As was mentioned, the roof ridge, I believe, is still significantly below the max height allowable. I just want to bring up what I think the benefit, it's an interesting, and I think an important benefit to the applicant. As we learned, both stories in the house have ceiling heights internally at only 7 feet. And the upstairs, it's an upside down house, so their main living space up there is at 7 feet. And I do think that's, someone who's lived in a house for a very long time, comes to sort of see the benefit of having a ceiling raised, I think it only goes up to 8 feet with a tray ceiling. So I think that's an important benefit, and I don't see negative environmental impacts or anything else. The little house on 11 Gallatin sits right at the property line. They're in favor. So I believe this meets the standards that we're required to be compatible with to grant the variance, and I will vote to approve this application.
Thank you. Gary?
Yeah, I agree with my fellow board members. I won't repeat everything, but I think David Sherwood, the architect for this, did an excellent job on a plan. I think it was a good application. Going back to the flat ceiling, the 7 foot, they got rid of that. They pitched the roof. They got the second floor was all kitchen, dining, ceiling, and now they have more headroom, and that is their main living space. It'll also enable them to put in an attic above there that doesn't exceed anything to enable HVAC to go in and enhance the environmental sector, the environment for the house itself. So I think it was an excellent project and an excellent application. And I too am approving. I feel it meets all the standards in this case with no detrimental impact to anyone or to the town. And I too am approving it.
Thank you. I agree. I have nothing else to add to it. Thank you. Next, we have Terry Smith at 93 Isle of Wight Road in Spring, Suffolk, tax map number 300-23-2-24. Size and location is 18,648 square feet at 93 Isle of Wight Road, Lionhead Beach, lot 21, map number 3451 in Springs. The description is to reconstruct an existing swimming pool, retaining wall and fencing, existing covered back porch and decking, and existing pool decking as a patio, and to construct approximately 225 square foot of new decking, 45 square foot addition to the residence, new windows, doors, roof, interior renovations, generator, reconfigured driveway, stairs, clearing and revegetation, and to install an upgraded sanitary system within jurisdiction of tidal wetlands. A natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Town Code, and 4 variances are required for this application. Variances is 60.7 feet, 30.5 feet, and 13.2 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code to construct the proposed pool patio, 39.3 feet, proposed decking, 69.5 feet, and generator, 86.8 feet respectively, from wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 441 square feet from 255-375 of the Town Code is required to allow the property to clear an additional 441 square feet where 10,000 square feet is allowed, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence zone, X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Vice Chair, you want to go?
Yes, thank you. This public hearing was held on March 26th, 2024. They were represented by East End Land Planning. The survey prepared by George Walbridge, last revised June 7th, 2023. Dated received June 12th, 2023. There's also a construction protocol prepared by Adam Miller Group, dated received March 19th, 2024 in the file as well.
I can interrupt. I have a newer survey on that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, dated August 17th, 2023.
Well, thank you for that.
Received August 18th.
All right, so say that first date again.
August 17th.
Last revised.
2023.
Up on the board there.
August 17th, 23, Terry?
Yes,
Dated received.
the 18th.
18.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, this property is located on the east side of Isle of Wight Road and fronts Hog Creek in Springs and is in a harbor protection overlay district. During the public hearing, I expressed concern over the stone pavers listed as steps on the survey that lead down to the water. They are not only dangerous to walk on, but during my field inspection, I did dislodge one of them myself. They could easily wind up in the creek and also cause a hazard to boats. The record was left open for 1 week because of my concerns, and the applicant and the agent, in a letter dated April 21st, 2024, did agree with me and has agreed to work with the planning department to replace the stone pavers with a wood-like construction. So if this does get approved, Jamison, maybe we could include this as a condition of approval. I also, during the public hearing, expressed concerns about a pile of gravel and stone that were piled up at the bottom of the driveway. That has since been removed and is illustrated through photos attached to the April 2nd, 2024 letter from Katie Ozeki. And I'm really thankful they agreed with me, since this is a very steep property in a harbor protection overlay district area. Generally speaking, the project includes very minor reconstruction and minor additions to an existing residence. I approve of the reconstruction of the existing pool, retaining wall, fencing, existing covered porch, a back porch, and decking, and existing pool decking as a patio. These are the reasons why. The retaining wall is existing and in great need of repair, and it is an in-place, in-kind replacement. The slate patio will have the same footprint and location as the previous decking. It will just change from the decking to patio with an additional step along the southern side of the patio to actually allow access to the ground level. Another minuscule change with the existing porch and decking, the change will be a set of stairs on the north side of the house. The new decking, 225 square feet, it is proposed on the southeast side of the residence where a driveway had previously been located. This was probably the only part of the application that gave me pause. But after some additional thinking and analyzation, I actually ascertained that it's actually no closer to the wetlands than the existing deck further north, and it is within the footprint of the existing driveway. I also feel this adjustment will result in total lot coverage going from 7,218 square feet to 6,487. So in actuality, the scaling down of the driveway and the revegetation proposed, which will reduce runoff in an HPOD area, will notably reduce clearing on the property after construction from 10,746 square feet to 5,436 square feet, where 10,000 square feet is the maximum allowable. So in my thinking is this is a major beneficial environmental plus to a property within the HPOD district, and coupled with the scenic easement along the shoreline will offset negative impacts to the property. In terms of the generator, this is a minor structure in an already cleared area. I feel this meets the standard and will not really cause any significant impacts on the wetlands. The sanitary upgrade is just another plus to the environmental well-being of this site. This should provide long-term benefits to the property for future. I think the application has been adequately mitigated, and I feel this meets the standards of variance in 255-850 and our SP standards in 255-551 of the town code, and I am approving this application in its entirety.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, before I go into my overview, I just wanted to check one of the variances. In the agenda, you read the 4 variances. This one that cited one variance of 441 square feet from 255-375 to allow clear an additional 441 square feet. I don't think that variance shows up in the TAM, and I'm not even sure what that variance ever
For
related
the
to.
IA system.
Oh, that was just for the IA
It got
system.
picked up after the dam,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
didn't think about the fact that it needed a temporary clearing variance.
Okay, so that's right, because I didn't see it in the TAM, so I was wondering if, okay.
It was so
great.
minor though, because they're
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily gonna make a
Revise the
difference. I
dam
just wanted to get that clear for the record. Okay, so I, again, am in agreement with our vice chair and my fellow board member, Savarese. The variances, as I understand them, for the most part, relate to reconstruction of existing structures that, mostly in place and in kind. So I don't believe that any of these variances are becoming bigger or more substantial than what is already in place. I also remember from the hearing that part of that slate patio that was expanded beyond, I think, what was originally approved, is being scaled back by this new owner. So I think that's important to keep in mind. The retaining wall around the pool, as has been said, is in place and is in need of significant remediation and repair. The additional retaining wall is necessary for the new septic, so I don't see an issue on that. I think the modest additional new decking, though it's on the seaward side, still isn't going to cause environmental problems, and it is a meaningful benefit, I believe, to the applicant, given that there aren't going to be a lot of cleared areas, and as we talked about at the hearing, there's no lawn, so might as well, I think the decking, even that's kind of the new thing, is okay. And then I agree, seeing over 5,000 square feet of revegetation, bringing clearing to almost half of what is allowable in an HPOD is very important, and combining that with the establishment of a scenic easement along the shoreline is, I think, very important, positive. And I was very happy to see the applicant come back in agreement about a wooden stairway relative to the member Savarese's concerns that were expressed. And overall, I have to say, I'm very glad to see a new owner, come in buying a shoreline property in a sensitive area and not making material above grade expansions, but just really looking to upgrade what they have. We don't see as much of that. So the only one thing that I brought up at the hearing, it's a little bit of a concern, and maybe we can mitigate it somewhere in the conditions if it gets fully approved, is, that slate patio is impervious. And I just was wondering still, and they didn't seem to want to make any changes to that, which is fine, but I just didn't know if there's a runoff, some control of any of that could be part of it. But aside from that, all in, I believe this application meets both the variance standards and the NRSP standards, and I vote to approve this application in total.
Thank you. Sarah?
Okay, well, you said everything I was going to say, but we'll say some more.
I'll let you-
Okay. I too am in agreement about the entire project. This was another project where I think the agents did a great job. The Adam Miller Group, who provided a project description, construction protocol, and response to the TAM, which was dated March 18th, 2024, that we received on March 19th, 2024, laid out an excellent synopsis of the entire project, particularly, and I will repeat some of it, on page 4, the IA system, and actually they said even though there was no change in bedroom count, the renovation was substantial, and thus making the upgraded system required. And the retaining wall will be no larger than 4 feet high. The backup generator, as already discussed, does require variance, but it's in the only practical location in an area that's already cleared. And again, the numbers that we discussed already, total reduction, total coverage of the property is going from 7,218 square feet down to 6,487 square feet. Reducing by about 10%. And the non-conforming clearing, which totals today 10,746 square feet, will have a post-construction clearing of 5,436. As already said, that's fantastic for HPOD. And a scenic easement also is being proposed of 3,428 feet, which is just another environmental plus. And then finally, the addition after the fact with the steps going away, being replaced with some sort of untreated wood walkway, I think is another environmental plus for everybody. I won't go into all the other things, but I too think that I am approving this in its entirety.
Thank you. Too, I think this is a very good application. I agree with my board members. To see this type of revegetation on this property is pretty amazing. My feeling, remember hearing it on the runoff, so I feel that with the increased vegetation acting as a buffer, as a very needed buffer for runoff going into Hog Creek, I think is adequate. I think that does mitigate it pretty well. Yeah, no, good application. I fully agree with my board members.
Okay, just if I can add a comment. In the recommended project conditions, under C, it says residents, an outdoor shower shall be furnished with gutters and leaders to direct stormwater from roofs into one or more catch basins. And Katie Osecki, I believe, did say they would put a dry well in for the shower also. So if we can add that in that condition, perhaps.
And I think it was a good point that the wood walkway or steps going down should be untreated.
Untreated, yes.
That should be in there.
Do we know if the steps, I remember Severis, showed the steps that are currently there and they go literally right into the water. Are these steps going to stop sooner and then have a dirt path, or are they also going?
It's going to be a walkway.
It's going to be a wood walkway.
Oh, it's okay. I thought it was
It's
wood.
going to get done, they're going to
I thought it's
work
partly
with the
steps.
planning
No,
department.
you're taking the steps
for
out.
Installation.
Oh, I misunderstood. I thought they were going to be like some wooden steps and then
It's
into
going to be like
walkway.
a wooden
Okay,
walkway. They're going to
Okay.
remove those stone pavers.
got it.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to be wooden steps. Thank you.
Great, thank you. You good, counsel?
Yes, just Terry, thank you for bringing up the conditions stated in the TAM. I just want to confirm, since I have the board here, are we accepting all of the other
Yes.
proposed conditions from the TAM and nothing additional besides those two? Okay, thank you.
I mean, you have the scenic easement in there, right? Or, well, it will be.
Do we have the scenic easement marked on the survey?
Yes.
Okay. I could remember.
Okay, next we have Jeffrey Moskowitz at 75 Shore Road, Narragansett, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-131-7-15. Size and location is 7,552 square feet at 75 Shore Road, Montauk-on-the-Sea, Section A, Lot 122, Map Number 2438, Narragansett. The description is to raise the existing residence to meet FEMA first floor requirements, renovate the existing residence, and to construct a 226 square foot first floor addition, 326 square foot second floor addition, approximately 1,216 square foot of first and second story decking, walkways, outdoor shower, 55 square feet of storage shed, convert an attached garage shed to a utility room, wall, new basement entry, clear beach vegetation, and to upgrade to an IA sanitary system on a parcel of land containing beach vegetation and outside the town's pyramid regulations. Relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and two variances are required for this application. Variances of 4.5 feet and 1.6 feet are required from 255-1172D of the Town Code to construct a residence 4 feet 5 inches and 1 foot 6 inches outside the town's pyramid regulations along the eastern and western lot lines respectively, and any other relief necessary. The B residence AE flood zone and elevation 10, secret class is type 2. Jane?
Yes, thank you. And Tyler, I may refer back to some of the photos of the Duneland that I had in my initial site reviews. I just want to let you know, you may want to look at them. Okay, the public hearing for this application was held on March 26, 2023. The applicant was represented by attorney Eric Bregman, not your friend Bregman. And also representing the applicant was Sharon McCaffrey of Due East Planning. What?
Shannon.
That's what I said, Shannon? What did I say, Sharon?
Sharon.
Oh, sorry, I said Shannon. I'm seats is Shannon. Sorry. We are working off of the most recent survey in the file dated, you can check me, April 2nd, 2023 from Gary Benz. I want to note, yes? No?
12th? Did you mean 12th?
For 12, yes. Sorry, typo. Wow, you're on me. Good, thank you. I want to note that, I just want to note that there is no survey in the file that shows all on its own the existing conditions as they are today on the property without, you can see the survey up on the screen, that sort of cluttering of all the additional elements on top of it. And that did complicate being able to really size up the exact incursion of the additional structures into the dunelands on the rear of the house and along the rear sides of the house. I just wanted to note that. Also, the survey was supplemented by a file entitled Shore Road Floor Plans received 3/26/2024. It shows up in the public file titled Shore Road Sketch. And we did review that at some length in the hearing, although most of us hadn't seen it come into the record right before it began. The TAM is dated January 25th, 2024 by Tyler Borsak. The house was built 33 years ago. The current owners acquired the property in June of 2018 as a second home. Neither of the neighbors to the east or west objected to the pyramid violations. One letter of support from the neighbor at 67 Shore Road was submitted to the record, basically supporting the project. No members of the public spoke at the hearing. I will note that Mr. Bregman read what was a very brief text from a neighbor to, I think, the owner that was sort of like, the project's exciting and they had their fingers crossed, but that never made it, not submitted into the letter as a record. So I note that they don't object, but I'm not necessarily noting that as a second letter into the record. Turning to the key dimensions underlying this application that impact my assessment of the application and what will be my decision relative to the code are as follows. The lot size at 7,552 square feet is pre-existing non-conforming to B residence standards. Specifically, it is 61% undersized substandard to lot area minimums. And as we know from this neighborhood, the majority, if not nearly all the lots in this neighborhood are similarly or closely materially undersized to the zone. The parcel is in an AE10 flood zone, and as part of the substantial redo and expansion, the house will be raised by 2.7 feet to meet FEMA minimum elevations. And that raise, as I understand it, from the hearing and all the materials, it is that FEMA compliancy raise, that triggers both of the pyramid violations of 4.5 feet and 1.6 feet on either side of the house, for which the applicant is seeking relief via variances. And again, the assertion is that the other expansion of the house does not necessarily increase the pyramid incursions. I do note that on one of the elevation of the front of the house, you do see the pyramid line crossing through an additional upper level deck. It's a small deck that's being put on top of a new storage area on top of the new second floor deck. And so it's just something to come back to. The current house for the most CO is cited in the TAM as 1,778 square feet, split evenly between the first and second floors. And the CO says that the house contains 4 bedrooms, as well as 372 square feet of decking. The structure and living area of the house is proposed to expand materially, both internally and externally. With respect to the internal, the GFA expands by 559 square feet, or nearly a third, to 2,337 square feet versus the max GFA of 2,355 square feet that would be allowed for a straight as of right permit. That is not even 1% below max. So this application goes right basically to maximum allowable GFA. The second internal expand or addition, notwithstanding the fact that Mr. Bregman at the meeting said that there are no added bedrooms, compared with the CO of 4, the plans are clear that an additional bedroom is being added, making this a 5-bedroom house, which is, substantial. The number of bathrooms also, as an aside, expands from 3 to 5. With respect to external expansion, total decking living area more than triples from 372 to 1,216. And I note the applicant in their narrative characterizes the decks as, quote, living area. The applicant has also proposed adding a second outdoor shower next to the one that already exists. And I was a little confused because on those showers are on the west side, basically in the duneland, and I was confused why the survey seems to show the dry well for the shower all the way over on the east side of the house. Maybe I don't understand how dry wells work, but finally, coverages are expanding materially. Building coverage increases by 40% or 400 square feet, and the coverage ratio goes up 5 points, more than 5 points, to 18.3, approaching the maximum 20%. Total coverage, though it still remains almost 10 points below max allowable, does also expand by 36% or 801 square feet to 40.2%. And I think that's still a substantial increase, given that this property is subject to NRSP jurisdiction and has fragile duneland and beach vegetation on it. Finally, existing clearing is 3,597 square feet. During construction, clearing will increase by 1,283 square feet, or 36%. And though some of that will be revegetated, some of that clearing is within the more precious dunelands at the back of the house. And, overall final clearing still expands by 565 square feet. So again, I just want to make, before I move to just the application relative to the standards, I just want to make this statement that I've made before, I think is worth repeating. Maximum allowances stated in our code for GFA coverages and clearing are maximums for what I consider to be, or we consider to be as of right permits, not necessarily containing protected natural resources or requiring variances. So I don't believe there can be expectations of achieving maximums when an application is in zoning board and NRSP jurisdiction. Also, I just want to note, in the back, the rear of the house, the current shed that's being converted to mechanical unit it's actually expanding by a foot. They said there was no change. I measured it. So the current thing is about 4.5 feet. It's going to, according to the survey, 5.6. And then you add another 3 feet of decking sort of towards the dunes. So I think that's significant. All right, turning to the code standards that we must consider and assess to decide if this board is permitted to grant the variances in NRSP. First, with respect to the variances as per 255-850. So specifically, will the grant of the variance cause an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood or create detriment to nearby properties? my answer is that given that the need for pyramid variances are primarily created by the required raise of the house for FEMA, and given that the adjoining neighbors do not raise objections, I'm going to say generally no, the variances themselves are not creating a particular undesirable change. B, could the benefit sought by the applicant be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than variance? Again, I would say no. Raising the existing house creates most of that pyramid nonconformity. Is the requested area variance substantial? I do think a 4.6 variance, 4.6 foot pyramid variance is substantial. Will the grant of the variance have adverse effect or impact on physical or environmental conditions? Strictly related to the pyramid variance, my answer is no, but I'll address the question of adverse environmental impact when I get to the NRSP standards as it relates to the growth of the overall structure. And E, is the difficulty causing the applicant to request an area variance self-created? I mean, one could make a case it is because they're deciding to do a substantial renovation and expansion that triggers a raise, but needless to say, I think we all agree that FEMA compliance is a preferable situation. So I wouldn't fuss over this last standard. Okay, turning now to natural resources special permit standards in 255, 551. This is where I have more significant reservations about the application. For the elements, obviously the standard starts out, are structures and uses other than coastal structures located so that no natural resource feature or system designated in 255-112 will be diminished in size, polluted, degraded, lost, or placed in peril. For the elements of the application I reviewed in these comments above, or that I've started out with, this application to me does not clear the bar of this standard, especially as it relates to additional structure being added on the west side of the house, north of the entrance to the house, along the rear of the house, and also sort of into the dune land as you wrap around the east rear side of the house. As I review the plans, all the commentary during the hearing, the survey appears to be squaring off the triangle on the rear west side. In addition, there's that second shower, there's a modest extension of the mechanical structure, the additional decking along the entire rear of the property. The clearing is part of the construction of that decking and the cantilevered second story across the whole north facade. All in, I believe, will diminish in size, degree, and place in peril a meaningful area of the most important dune land on the property, and that takes it beyond what I see as meeting standards for the NRSP. I went back today to look at it one more time, and as you really stare at on the plans what's going to go on back there, it's going to take away vegetation, and I think it will also cut into some particular topographic dune features. And then rest of the standards quickly. Do alternative reasonable uses of the property exist? Yes, the existing house sized already with 4 bedrooms and represents a reasonable use, and the applicant made a choice to buy it. And to the second standard, are alternative designs entailing smaller buildings or structures possible, feasible, lawful? And the answer to that in my mind is yes. And then to wrap up, the application must meet 255-540D compatibility and K environmental protection. I won't read them again here, but all in, as I do not see this application as fully compliant with those 2 standards. As we've established, this is a very dense neighborhood, nearly all the lots significantly substandard. This is a flood zone, a neighborhood that in its entirety sits close to the ocean and is vulnerable in the long term to sea level rise and increasing storms. Maximizing GFA, as well as meaningfully expanding coverages, increasing clearing, causing loss of natural features, significantly increasing the scale and intensity of use is not compatible with the surroundings and the environmental imperatives of itself of this lot. And of course, consistently the precedent that it sets that still sets up many more lots possibly doing a very similar thing. It definitely puts in jeopardy the flood resiliency and therefore the health, safety, and welfare of residents. Taken as so this is a neighborhood where sadly over the years, a lot of natural resources were lost, natural features were lost and degraded. And with respect to what remains, even if there are small patches like we see here, I don't believe they should be and cannot continue to be undermined. In summary, the narrative notes that the owners proposed the expansion to meet their needs. However, those needs were never made clear or defined. And so the expansion can really only be looked at as wants and not needs or difficulties. Mr. Bregman, in his comment during the hearing, characterized this project as simple and restrained and no harm at all to the dune land. And I don't agree that those really capture the issue. He's, in response to my question about increasing GFA, he said there is no increase in intensity of use and no increase in bedrooms. And I think that was no disrespect, but not the best way to characterize the project. And the harm to the protected dune land, even though there's a 20-foot easement proposed, I don't think that's enough because we're losing some portion of that dune land in the back and around the rear sort of sides of the house. And so all in, given that neither the FEMA raise nor the septic system are mitigation, all in, I'm going to deny this application.
Thank you. Terry?
Okay. I had a lot of angst over this one.
Yeah, this was.
Yes. And still do. Okay. All those things that were said, I can't even think about repeating them all. But I had the same concerns at the hearing. There were several times, as a matter of fact, in the document that they submitted also, from Mr. Bregman, that we received on June 9th of 2023, which was a revised June 8th, under protection of dune vegetation, they mentioned the restoration of 718 square feet of beach vegetation, the 20-foot wide scenic conservation easement, that's all good. Then he goes on to say there's no increase in the density of use. And I know at the hearing, when we had the other diagram up, which was difficult to see, but I personally had a big problem with the construction that was being proposed on the northern side of the house, closest to the dune land. On the survey, we have the project limited fencing and the clearing, the second story addition, which he stated was just going to increase the master bedroom a little bit, and maybe that's true at that particular point, but it is very disturbing to me about the 4-foot walkway around the house, the retaking of the storage structure on the bottom and making that storage, I believe, is what they were going to do. And the showers, I think overall, that coming within 18 feet of the total maximum of gross floor area on this property is way too aggressive. They're increasing lot coverage. In total lot coverage, they're increasing to 29.6%. And but the one most bothersome to me is that GFA number. And I know several times during that hearing, it was stated that there's no increase in density, the number of bedrooms was going to remain the same. And the diagram that's up there right now on the board, you can see shows 5 bedrooms. It's difficult to see from here, but and there was another rendering that was done also that said that there was 5 bedrooms. So it is increasing in intensity. I think this in mass and scale for this property, that this does not meet the standards. I'm not sure, other than denying it in its entirety, how it can deny part of it. But it's the part on the northern side that bothers me the most. Again, the FEMA and raising the FEMA with those two pyramids, I have no issue with that. I do believe that, that those are necessary purely to bring it up to the FEMA compliance.
So you're approving the FEMA?
Yeah, I have no
Can I say
problem with
something? There's a
that.
second one we've done like
Let's
this.
talk about
Yeah,
it.
right, yeah.
Can I just say something on this approving the FEMA? That means you're approving a variance based on a design that's going to change. If you're denying the size of the house, that you can't approve that variance because now the design has to change. So why approve the FEMA variance when you can't, the variance has to change if you're changing the design?
They're asking
How are
for
they
the
gonna
pyramid
design-
variance based on the design of the house now.
The application is a variance for two variances on pyramid only. And if you're going to decide, say the FEMA, I approve the FEMA, well, then in a sense, you're approving the variance for the FEMA, which is based on the design of the house.
But no, I disagree with that. I think they can raise the house to FEMA compliance within the footprint and the structure as it exists today, within that GFA.
So
So they can
you're
raise the house
denying- then
without
you're denying
adding,
the variances.
the other
pyramid-
variance.
The pyramid
The other
variance.
no, the other variances,
There's only two
There's
variances
there's
here.
only pyramid
There's only two
variances.
pyramid
the
variances.
natural resource special permit then,
Right.
in terms of their alternative uses in size and scale
I did
and
that.
structures.
So are you approving the pyramid
The
variances?
pyramid variances, yes, okay, let me
Okay,
correct
so then
that.
I say you can't because you're denying the size of the house. And it's got to be redesigned.
I mean,
The design of the house does not meet the NRSP standards to protect the dune vegetation.
All right,
I
okay.
mean,
I
for
mean,
me, I said that I didn't think that the variance requests for the pyramid necessarily warranted, I think they met the standards. However, I'm not approving those, to your point, Mr. Chair. I'm not approving at this point the FEMA variances.
no, you denied the
I'm
application
denying
in
it
its
in full.
entirety.
Right, yeah, so,
Right, I have a problem with approving a pyramid, which is creating a variance for pyramid. If you're denying the house on, it conflicts. The decision conflicts. That's all.
seriously.
Does it conflict?
Yeah.
I think, if I may, Terry, I think is what the chair might be saying is, if the proposal was to just raise the existing house to FEMA, I'm not sure that we know that just raising it to FEMA, the existing structure only would require the variances.
That variance is specific to
To
the
this
shape
design.
and the size of the
design
house.
of the
It's
house.
specific to it. You
Okay,
can't.
then I will deny the entire application.
Okay, that's, thank you.
I mean, because there could, if you just raise the
I can't
house,
approve the
there
whole
still could be a
application.
redesign of the upstairs that could lessen that pyramid potentially.
The other one that I did that on was
Well, that's a
different than
different
this. Yeah, this was, yeah.
It might,
this is whole-
instead of a
totally
1'7", you might have a 1'6". It's
Yeah,
still
it
a
was a
different
different situation.
variance. It's,
'Cause I'm-
you
yeah.
can't lock in that variance.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay. But to that way of thinking, I agree with you. In this particular application, we all know this is an AE10 flood zone, and we know that makes this area vulnerable to flooding and storms. And this is a 7,552 square foot lot. This is a non-conforming parcel and undersized to zoning, and so many of these neighborhood houses were developed prior to the natural resource zoning regulations going into effect. So we actually know a lot more now than we did when these neighborhoods were first established. For instance, we know sea level is rising, and we are more educated now in terms of appropriate development while also taking into consideration the impacts a project can have on the surrounding properties. As more and more properties are redeveloped in an area such as this one, which is under extreme intense development pressure, I almost feel an obligation to examine how overdevelopment of these undersized small lots will impact the environment and neighboring properties. Now, as the TAM points out, and this is critical to my decision, the GFA will increase to 2,337, will increase to 2,337, where 2,355 is the maximum allowable. That's glaring. Lot coverage is 979 square feet to 1,379, where 1,510 is the maximum. Clearing will increase from the existing 3,597 square feet to a proposed 4,162 square feet after revegetation. The NRSP standards are here to protect our natural features. A natural resource special permit is needed in this case due to the presence of duneland and duneland vegetation on and adjacent to the subject property. If we are not vigilant, overdevelopment will lead to degradation and loss of the already dwindling duneland characteristics. In this application, I am going to say no to the pyramid request, because if approved, will be increasing the pyramid nonconformity further north and south along the impacted neighbor's property line. So overall, I do not feel the applicant has demonstrated compliance with variance standards in 255-850, NRSP standards in 255-551, and general standards outlined in 255-540. These variances will impact both neighboring properties and the area. There are just some properties that may not be suitable for this level of development given the existing conditions. There will be an increase in use, even though there are no more additional bedrooms. As more and more properties are redeveloped, a precedent could be established. So for all the reasons stated, I am denying this application in its entirety.
Thank you. I'm going to agree with my board members on this. I think that when you look at this area, the character of the neighborhood is cottages within meandering dunes. And I think that the town, in its wisdom, in establishing its NRSP, one of the primary parts of that was the preservation of its dunes. And I think this whole area here is, I think we have been other areas in the town where there is dune land. Although there is no wetlands here, this is a dune land NRSP. And the clearing is problematic here, and I do think the expansion on the lot is is aggressive for this area. So without restating my board members, I'm going to agree to deny this application. Okay, council?
Yep.
Okay, we move on to other decisions. We have Anna Kenger at 60 Osprey Road in Amagansett. As a request, to reopen the record to submit the correct plans. Give us a brief on this. Or, yeah, so they submitted,
I know, sorry.
what's that?
What air is just blowing so
loud.
loud? I don't know how to turn that off, sorry. It was getting hot.
Yeah, that's
I can say, this was a public hearing. You guys probably recall the applicant asked that the record remain open to submit updated plans. The date that the record closed, updated plans were submitted, but when Tyler reviewed them, he noted that those plans appeared to still have a mistake because they were not anything that the board was requesting. So Tyler reached out to me and the applicant's agent, and they said that in fact submission was a mistake, and now the record is closed, and the only thing in there is these mistaken plans and the original plans. So the ask for the board is just to make a motion right now to reopen the hearing Samantha is in possession of the corrected proper plans, and then we will make a motion. She will be able to put them in the record, and then you can close it again.
We know these are corrected?
These are corrected.
You see them?
Did you review them?
That's
The new
building
plans?
plans, not
I believe,
surveys.
yeah, the ones they submitted, it's
There
like
was-
one or
yeah,
two
there was a
pages.
lot more than
Plans.
surveys. They
It's
involved
actually,
that hearing.
the,
One or two pages, like, of the pyramid was from like the original submission that they had done, and they just got included accidentally, and they submitted the proper drawings, which are more in keeping with, or are the accurate
That
ones.
was a good catch, Tyler.
Very good catch.
and so to your question, Terry,
Continuation hearing? This goes back a while. I know.
Back
there was
quite a
several-
ways.
I don't think it was a
It wasn't a
continuation. I
continuation.
think we just keep
Continuation,
extending
it just
it.
got left open for
Yes.
plans to be revised, and
Plans,
then
oh,
they
okay.
kept needing to
Yeah,
extend
but
it.
time kept
Yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
and
okay.
so this should actually say plans, not surveys, to your point.
How
It
long
is
are we
plans.
leaving the record open?
Sorry, go ahead. It's changed to plans. I think we can just open it. Can we just open it, say we accept the submitted plans and then close it? We have the plans.
Okay, so let's do that. Let's do it
Yes.
simultaneously.
All right,
All right, go ahead, Jane.
I'm recused from this
Okay.
application, sorry.
okay.
I'll make a
Want me to
motion.
do- oh,
Okay, whatever. I'll make a motion. In Anacanga, 60 Osprey Road, Narragansett, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-131-7-3 to reopen the record to submit the correct plans.
Second. I concur.
I concur. And on the same, I make a motion to close the record. Close the record.
With the acceptance of the plans. I'll second.
Second, third,
You
concur.
Thank you. Next, we have 3 Beach Plum LLC at 3 Beach Plum Court, Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Number 300-110-2-19.2. It's a modification of a 2021 determination. Again, board members, this is an area where very pristine dune, and the zoning board took very careful
This is
Yes.
not their first
consideration on it.
modification.
We have neighbors too. Yes.
Okay, so this one was Brian's. I'll go through some information to show you what they're requesting. This gives you a pretty good idea of what they're doing. As approved, there are some stairs. They want to square it off, move the stairs a little bit.
Can you zoom into that a little bit more? Oh, sorry,
Can I say it again?
I just zoom into that a bit more.
Zoom in, yeah.
I couldn't see, yeah, it's just hard for me. The cheap
That's a
seats
little
over here.
better.
But I have the surveys from existing and proposed. I can
Yeah.
pull up two that are a little bit easier to read. The colors on these are not great. Obviously a large property. The area of interest is down here. This is the proposal. Obviously significant approved structures. The pending modification request is described on their letter, which I just showed. The modification seeks to add 31 square feet of pool deck on the west side of the property. The square footage increase has been proposed as the same, at the same 17.4 feet from the western side yard lot line setback that was granted relief in 2021. Since the modification request involves increasing construction within minimum side yard setbacks, the board should require a public hearing that would provide notice to the adjoining neighbors.
This is on the west side also, right? Is this
Correct.
the west side?
Yeah.
So there is a
This is your
neighbor
western
right there.
property line here.
Yeah, the aerial.
This is
one,
what was approved. You can see what was done here, and then I'll skip between the two, and that's what they're requesting. Does that show it a little
Do it
bit
again?
better?
Do it again.
Yeah, I'll do it a couple times.
Okay,
Approve what they're requesting.
okay.
The variance is it changing? Is it,
It's the same setback of 17.4 feet, but what they're doing is
More of
it's
it.
instead of it being a set
More
of
of it.
stairs
Expanding
here,
the
it was just a set of
nonconformity,
stairs.
Right.
Now it's a whole section of patio and barbecue
They're
area,
expanding it, yeah.
and the stairs are up here now. So it's extending that along a longer distance of the property.
Well, I know what I think.
No,
I think we should go to
have
public
a hearing,
hearing.
I agree.
have a hearing. Oh, yeah, at least a
They're
hearing, at
increasing,
least a
yes.
hearing.
Board members, this was a sensitive property. There was much neighbor input on this,
Yes.
if I recall. And I think we should
I'm thinking that's,
deny the modification.
So,
So is there,
so the
sorry,
total request is on the west side. Nothing on
Correct, that's the only change proposed, I
the only
believe,
change
yes.
proposed today.
Yeah, from my understanding, that's the only change between the two surveys.
So, Mr. Chairman, is the option, are we denying
Deny
it
modification.
or going to a public hearing?
No, deny the modification, right?
Right.
It's a modification request.
So it's not about going to a public hearing, it's about approve or deny right now.
You could
It's
do
in
a
their
standard
court, how they want to
modification,
go
you could do a
forward.
modification with a hearing, which we've done in the past,
Yeah.
or you could require a whole new application
Oh,
be
so
submitted.
why don't we do that? Why don't we maybe make a motion to do a
That's-
modification with a hearing?
I
Because
agree, yeah,
that's the reason we're saying that, because of the
That's
neighbors.
what I thought we were
Yeah.
doing.
Neighbors
I
would be
don't know if
noticed.
it's significant enough change to require a whole new hearing, it is sort of
No,
similar,
I agree.
but
A
enough to
modification
where the
with a
neighbor
hearing.
should be noticed and
Makes
given a
sense.
chance to
Right.
speak about it.
That makes sense,
So a modification
with a hearing.
with a
Okay.
hearing.
All right. So in the matter of 3 Beach Plum LLC, 3 Beach Plum Court, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-110-2-19.2, I make a motion to do a modification with a public hearing.
So we're not approving a modification.
We're not.
Have a modification hearing.
We're going to have a public hearing for the proposed modification.
Okay, I second it.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. Next, we have the draft minutes of April 16th, 2024.
I would like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes for April 16th, 2024 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Second.
Concur.
Concur.
We're getting to second.
Okay, we go on to resolutions. We have Christopher Diza at 90 Sherrill Road, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map Number 300-160-5-3. Board members, this was in my area, so this was a unanimous denial of a swimming pool outside of setbacks. So with that, I make a motion. The application of Christopher Diza at 90 Sherrill Road, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-160-5-3, to approve the resolution as written.
Second.
Concur.
Lascalzo, we have Brett Lascalzo at 149 Mulford Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-84-2-7.
Okay. This was an application that we denied unanimously. Is that correct? Yes.
Yes.
Unanimous.
No, I granted the
no.
pyramid.
Oh, the same thing with the
To meet
pyramid.
FEMA.
Okay.
It was a different situation.
Right. Okay. So, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I need it.
Well, thank you.
I
Oh,
have,
sure,
I
I'd
don't
love
need
one.
one.
Thank you.
I don't need one, I'm good, thank you.
She hasn't memorized.
Okay. So let me
It's in
start
my
again.
head.
This was an application that we concurred to the denial of the natural resources special permit, all of us, but member Savary's approved the pyramid variances
To meet FEMA, yes.
to meet FEMA, right, okay. And the main concern was the placement of this new sanitary system so close to the wetlands and with the most minimum necessary separation from groundwater in an area that is prone to overwash, flooding, rising sea levels, and erosion. And all in, as a board, we felt that there still could have been alternative positioning of the septic and also the extension that was going on, being added to the southern side of the property, and that wasn't fully explored, and therefore the standards for the NRSP were not met.
Okay.
Can I make a motion?
Yep, I was just looking at the, thought I had something. Can I just raise one issue in the,
Is it going to have a material effect on the resolution?
okay, I mean,
If it's not, well, don't bother.
Okay, the question I was going to ask was on G number 2. The board finds the lot insufficient, inappropriate, and inadequate for the proposed use. That's everything, not just a residential use, right? Because number 3 says the board finds the proposed use is not fairly typical of other parcels in the neighborhood. So I just wasn't necessarily clear on that from the
No, but
decision.
I'll just say that some of these edits that we're doing, you have to remember, everything we do that's in the public related to the applications is part of the record.
Understood.
Right, so I think, and I think we rely on council to do the best job there. I mean, I think Jeremy's writing some amazing resolutions, and so if it's not a material change, or it's not like, for instance, she made a mistake and said a 20-foot buffer instead of a 40-foot buffer, those are things we should be picking.
Okay, I just.
Right, so I'm just gonna make that
Okay.
statement, so.
All right, then I'll make a motion in the matter of Brett Lascalzo, 149 Mulford Lane, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-084-02-07. That we approve the determination as written.
Second. I concur.
Concur, thank you. Next, we have, I'm going to read them both simultaneously, if that's okay. Lynn Eichner at 35 Fairview Avenue, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-19-8-14.1, and Lynn Eichner at 55 Fairview Avenue, Montauk, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-19-8-15 and 16. Terry?
Okay.
Modifications,
Yeah, if
right?
you recall, these are a modification, the second modification that we've received on this. This one was to redo the driveways and the entrance to the properties there. They're basically identical, owned by the same person, and on the same type of modifications to redo the driveways. This was a unanimous denial by the entire board to have that done, so.
Wasn't it also to make them significantly larger as opposed to?
To redo them,
Okay.
to remodify them. So for Lynn Eichner at 39 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-19-8-14.1, and Lynn Eichner at 55 Fairview Avenue in Montauk, tax map 300-19-8-15 and 16. Make a motion to approve the modification denial as written.
Second.
I concur.
I concur. Thank you. So next we have 117 BVA LLC at 117 Bayview Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-84-1-3.1. It's a resolution adopting a positive declaration pursuant to SECRA. This is, board members, we've been given a copy of the resolution adopting a positive declaration pursuant to SECRA. Have we all read it?
Yes.
Thank you. Member Miriam, can I have a motion to adopt the resolution?
Yes, sir. In the matter of 117 BVA LLC at 117 Bayview Avenue, Amagansett, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-84-1-3.1, I make a motion to adopt the resolution for a positive declaration pursuant to SECRA.
Second. I concur.
I concur. And with that, I'm going to proceed on signing the application of summary, that's part 2 and 3 environmental assessment form. Board members, I'm going to check the box with stating there will be a potential large or significant adverse impact on the environment. And then I'm going to sign it as responsible. Read.
We're watching.
Yeah. Thank you.
Witness.
Okay, council?
Yes, all good. I just want to state, because we have had some public interest here, this resolution does state that the ZBA will conduct a public scoping session for the proposed action on May 21st.
That's correct.
2024 at 6:30 PM. So that is in 3 weeks from tonight.
The 21st.
There will be
May 21st.
a scoping session on May 21st.
That's a public, it's a public?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the zoning board of appeals on Tuesday, April 30th, my son's birthday, at 8:43 PM.
A second.
Concur.